Good to see you. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. What can you tell us then about these negotiations? Is there a desire, do you think, to make progress? Because we're hearing, the rhetoric's being dialed down, and yet our man on the ground saying we are so far from a resolution on this, and he feels as though the political will just isn't there. What's your view?
Well, thank you for having me this morning. First of all, nothing has actually substantially changed since the government published their command paper in July of this year. Their command paper stated categorically that the conditions have now been met to put in place Article 16. In other words, to pause the protocol, to set those bits of it aside that are causing economic, social and political destabilisation. Nothing has changed since then. There's been a lot of rhetoric, you're absolutely right. Mr. Frost, Lord Frost has indicated that the European papers to date have not been sufficient in terms of movement. So what we're saying is, please put Northern Ireland businesses out of this terminal misery that they're now in. It's costing them £850 million so far this year. And let's make sure that Article 16 is invoked and that we're able to set aside those parts of the protocol that are damaging the economy, damaging political stability and damaging the social fabric of Northern Ireland.
That is considered to be, Ian, the nuclear option, some are calling it. By triggering Article 16, it would suspend the agreement, and the EU then may take legal action, arguing that actually the circumstances aren't there to sufficiently justify triggering the mechanism.
Well, let's just unpack that, because I think you're absolutely right. We had a situation way back in January of this year where the leader of the opposition told Boris Johnson that he, the leader of the opposition, if he was Prime Minister, would not have put in place a border within the United Kingdom and a border down the Irish Sea. And he told him that no British Prime Minister should do that. We now have this border in the Irish Sea, and we now have the opposition and all those what appear to be pro-Brussels politicians in the United Kingdom clinging to the protocol as if it's Joan of Arc stakes here. I mean, the protocol allows for the suspension of Article 16. It's a condition within it that if there's political cost, economic cost or social fabric cost, then it is an option that's allowed. It's not nuclear. It's a legitimate option allowed. So people should dial down that rhetoric who are saying this is nuclear and recognise the protocol isn't working as efficiently and effectively as it was envisaged. It's far too strict. It's causing far too much friction of goods within the United Kingdom. Let's remove those issues and then address the other points. And if the European authorities wish to then use the legitimate issue of taking us to court, then take us to court and challenge it in the court. But this is a legitimate mechanism. And for people to talk it up as then the beginning of a trade war, I think that's clearly where they want this to go. Certainly not where I want it to go.
OK, so let's just say, for argument's sake, that Article 16 is triggered and then the Northern Ireland Protocol is suspended. What do you think would happen then? Would you like to see it scrapped completely? Could you potentially... Because I was in Northern Ireland in August, I was talking to very angry unionists who said that they just want to see it scrapped. Not renegotiated, not suspended, they want to see it scrapped. Is that where you stand?
Well, there has to be a recognition that goods that enter Northern Ireland from the rest of the United Kingdom and are destined for the Republic of Ireland or the rest of the EU, that arrangement has to be put in place to assist our neighbours in the EU. Of that, there's no doubt. What that is, what you call it, if it's called the protocol or whatever it's called, I really, frankly, don't mind, because it's such a small amount of goods. It's probably about 2% of goods that enter Northern Ireland. The fact of the matter is that we're now receiving over 20% of customs checks on goods that are actually travelling between GB, London, Scotland, Wales, and coming into Northern Ireland and destined as their final destination to be Northern Ireland. What is appalling is that there's friction on any of that trade at all, because Northern Ireland is some sort of proxy zone now for the EU. So that has got to be removed, and people are right to be very angry. I mean, say, for example, if I were to say to you, if you want to bring goods from Yorkshire down to London, you'll have to pay additional VAT, and you'll have to go through all these customs checks. And instead of it taking a matter of hours, it will take weeks, because the EU customs zone and the EU single market might be damaged by the transfer of that goods. We don't think it will, but it might be. So we'll just put all these restrictions on top of you. You would be absolutely outraged at that, and people here are outraged at those infringements on their liberties.
To be fair to the EU, though, Ian, these negotiations are ongoing, and their offer is to reduce these customs checks by 80% and to do a deal that covers agriculture and medicines. So the customs checks doesn't appear to be the budging point. It's about the European Court of Justice having jurisdiction over the agreement. That's the real nub of this, isn't this?
No, we have to. Let's be fair to the EU. They say they want to reduce 80% of the current customs checks. But remember, we're currently in the soft zone of customs checks at the present time. We're only drinking the skimmed milk version of the protocol. Come January of next year, it's a matter of 6 weeks away, we then have the full fat version, and that will mean even more customs checks. So what they're offering is a small reduction in what is currently taking place. But everything, let me give you a most obvious and glaring example, which is insulting and addresses sovereignty. So the Queen's Jubilee is taking place next year. And as part of that, the Queen's canopy is to be encouraging people to plant oak trees around schools and other public locations. To bring those oak trees into Northern Ireland, we're told the soil is contaminated because it's British, and therefore either they can't come in or they'll have to be treated specially to come in to another part of the United Kingdom. That is outrageous. Just totally outrageous. And this is Europe. And that's designed to protect France, Germany, Holland, Belgium, Italy, Greece's single market. That doesn't even touch them. But that's why we're being forced to do this.